goes pretty widely. I'm going to say for those of you, how many of you learned, did any of you learn last year? No, you guys are all. One, this is going to be the easiest for you because your muscle memory hasn't built really yet. It's going to be hardest for your brain to remember because you spent so much time focusing. Your muscle memory is going to be king. Those of you who've been sailing here for more than like 4 years, the ideas, the few changes that are happening that you have to pay attention to they're gonna be so easy for your brain to comprehend. You won't even believe it. Your muscle memory is gonna be your problem because you spent so much time doing things automatically. But we've run through all the systems and they're great. The boats, if we get to sail tomorrow, if you guys have been looking at the forecast, and Sunday, if we get to sail, obviously the boats are just being finished now, so they're not all done. We're catching up. A lot of the work couldn't be done until the masts were up, so when in doubt, you can also just sail it the way you used to. Nothing has changed for that. This doesn't, and I wrote this down. The changes won't change how you sail the boat. It changes how the boat sails. So, a few things. I'm going to start from the front, work our way back, and then Kristen and I are going to demonstrate a tack, a jibe, and then the new reefing system. And again, for all of these things, if it's not working out, if something got caught, if we forgot a track somewhere, just do it the old way, because that works just as well. For those of you who are VIs and volunteers, you will want to practice as hard as possible between now and when you teach, because you want it to come as comfortably as possible as you teach. If you're not teaching, you know, stick to the rules, be safe, make good decisions. So if you're light air rated, many of these things aren't changing for you because all the new sail controls, fix it and forget it. You're not touching them. Medium air rated, some changes. The reefing system has changed. It's way easier. And sail changes and jib car changes. So we have jib tracks here and here. Because right now, well, I'll get to it. Oh, that's at the front. That's at Genoa. It's not our baby jibs. Which means it's a big sail. It's a big sail. So in light air, this is going to be pretty nice because you're going to get some more power. They do reef. Right now, the dots that are on there are random. Those aren't real. We have to take them all off and re-put them on. Reefing the jib is furling. So all you're doing reefed. So now you have a baby jib, just like we used to have. It's the same size practically. What it is also is up. So both when it's all the way out and all the way up, you can see underneath them. If you're light and medium air, you should not be using your jib in the mooring basin until you've at least practiced the jib 100 times, possibly 1,000 times. If you're heavy air and it's a light air day, you can play with the jib in the mooring basin. That rule from last year is still valid. So medium air rated, if you're out in medium air and the wind kicks up to heavy air, you're going to be reefing the jib. We don't want you out there in heavy air with a full Genoa if you're medium air rated. So just keep that in mind if you're medium air. If you're heavy air rated, reefing on the water will change. Sail changes can happen, jib car changes. Most of the changes move the controls. It changes the controls you have for powering and depowering. So if you're heavy air, if you haven't signed up for the heavy air class, that's fine. But you'll want to do some practicing when you can, because in some heavy air situations, you're going to be taking off the Genoa and putting on the old jib, because that's plenty of power in heavy air. However, And then once you do that, the jib sheets go into the different cars. There's also different pieces that we're going to be using. So it's really, most of the people who are going to be very focused on having the very teeny tiny nuances figured out will definitely be the Sunday racers. And then the people who've been sailing for 80,000 years who are very focused on things. If you just want to sail an Ensign in 18 knots at your leisure or with guests, again, very little has changed. You don't have to touch anything. Just make sure the Genoa's not all the way out. So that's your first thing way over there. For those of you who have eagle eyes, see that everything is labeled. So main halyard, jib halyard, furler is labeled, so you don't have to keep telling everybody no, your other left. You have the main traveler is labeled back here. Some of the new controls that have changed are, this is where your main sheet is now. I got to play some yesterday with this, and it was awesome, I'm gonna tell you. So, when you're sailing, if you have a tendency to look behind you to see what's in a cleat and when not in a cleat, you don't do that anymore because there's no cleat. Everything that needs to be cleated is right here, and if you're sitting properly, it's right here. In the video that we did, you'll be able to see that it actually helps too if it's heavy wind and you're trying to jibe. You can hand off the main sheet to somebody else and you're not like, it's not strangling you because they're right there. So we have those videos to help us with that. All right, reefing lines are labeled. Also labeled back here, you have a Cunningham. It's the red line. I think it's the red line on all of the boats. So those of you who are old enough to remember your Richie Rich. Richie Cunningham had red hair. Your Cunningham is red.
Oh, jeez. It took you a minute to figure that out.
You're not yanking down on the boom. You are pulling on the Cunningham to take the wrinkles out of the sail. If you forget to do this, it doesn't matter. Unless you're racing. So, caveat, when I say it doesn't matter, just assume that I mean unless you're racing somebody. But it doesn't matter if you forget. If you just want to set it and forget it and it's just hanging here and you feel like you need to do something, just pull it through its cleat and that's it. You want it to be looser rather than tighter because if you're trying to hoist and the Cunningham's really tight, it gets a little messy. But it's no worse than if you're trying to hoist the sail and the downhaul was tied on. It's the same thing, you're just loosening up a thing to get the halyard all the way to the top. Boom bangs, those are not yet installed. A boom bang, it's labeled right here, will attach here. I'm not entirely sure, I think it's probably going back to the mast. I haven't seen the specs for that. The boom bang will just be attached, and again, fix it and forget it. The thing for the boom bang, the use for it, is when you're going downwind, it prevents the boom from lifting. So if the wind pushes your sail and you get that big bubble in it, the boom lifts. And that's when you're about to accidentally jibe or whatever. Now, you will still accidentally jibe, but the boom's not going to lift when it happens. So that's one of the main purposes for a vang for our purposes. Again, more advanced sailors, you're going to learn how to play with the vang more.
Does that also mean you don't get that nice warning that you're about to accidentally jibe?
You should still be able to feel it. You should still be able to feel it. But it won't be the boom lifting and then crashing down as it goes. So instead of being hit on the head here, you're just going to get here. Huzzah! Succeeded. Your outhaul. We have one. The outhaul is this here. Some of the Ensigns had it before. This is how you, this is called a clam cleat. When you tighten it, you can just pull through and it tightens. To loosen it up, you just push your hand down. What it does is change the tightness of your sail. So on a light air day, if you're really trying to get the last little half knot out of it, you loosen it up to make the bubble in your sail a little bigger. If it's a heavy air day and you need some of the air to bounce off so it's not so wild out there.
Teresa, are all the mains loose-footed now?
Yes.
Thank you.
But I'm not putting money on it, but yes. If you want to fix it and forget it, pull the outhaul until it's tight, and then you're done. Just make sure that it's cleated in here. If you don't and you go sailing and the wind hits, your sail's going to go shoop, and then you just have to pull it to tighten it. So in the olden days, last year, if your outhaul came loose because the line broke, you really had to do some scrambling to get it to work. Now we can play with the outhaul if we need. Do as you please with that. So, but if it pops loose, it's easy to fix because you're just down here and it just slides and tightens. Okay? I'm gonna talk about the reefing lines and then bit. 2 sets of jib car tracks. Most of the boats are not going to have this winch system anymore. It's going to have a more traditional winch system, and there will be winch handles. For those of you who want to know, it is $75 a piece to replace the handle.
They don't float.
They do not float. You don't have to use the winch handle. But if you want to tighten it up, the sail is bigger, which means that if you need a little bit of mechanical effort help, you're going to want to use that winch to get the sail all the way in. So you have the winch handle.
Is there a place to keep the winch?
There will be pockets.
There will be pockets.
Okay.
We hadn't gotten that far yet in our... So there will not be winch handles this weekend. We haven't gotten that far. But there will be some. Baby jibs. So again, in the olden days, last year, the jibs that were on the furler will be in bags in the boat, so that if you feel the need to switch them, you can, but you do have to switch them back. And if you're in any of the classes, you're going to be learning how to do that.
Are any of the winches self-tailing?
No.
Jacks.
No lazy jacks! So, this was a change that came up a couple of days ago when we were playing with some stuff. The lazy jack systems, one, we love them, but they broke all the time. And as you can see, when they break, the lines get tangled way up, and it takes a lot of time and Jared hanging from a crane to fix those. And we wanted to reduce the amount of times Jared's hanging from a crane, because although he is still very young at heart, he is no longer 30. Wrapped it up on a topping lift. The way that the booms are set, we are going to have a mechanism so that the slugs don't get stuck.
Yay.
I know. Well, they actually may still get stuck, but they won't fall out. And you don't have to feed them in. So when you're hoisting your sail, and I think...
Oh, they're already in there.
I think we're ready. Are we ready to hoist? Yeah. Could you lift the boom for me just to demonstrate the safety aspect? So to hoist, look at that. Oh look, I'm just doing it here. Oh, lazy jack.
It would be nice out there to stand on the deck.
Oh, Cunningham. Thank you, see? Who said Cunningham? Well done. Double gold stars.
That was a test.
It was a test, definitely. Not something I forget. So, sails up, just like in the olden times, except a little easier and a little faster. If it gets stuck, probably you forgot the Cunningham and it's tight, or probably the person in front of you forgot to change the reefing line, which we'll talk about. The sail wheel is up. So here you can see the Cunningham's loose. There's a few wrinkles. I don't actually care about wrinkles, but if you do, that works like the downhaul did, except again, pulling on the boom, you're tightening the sail, which is the thing that actually matters when you're sailing a boat.
Oh, how are we going to learn how to tie a clean hitch upside down now?
And that's your hint.
This is the outhaul.
Handstands.
Right now the outhaul is loose, and so we're getting a bigger bubble here. Or it can just be all the way out. Double check. Get a little slack here and none here. It means it's caught. You're good. This comes out. Thing. All right. This
That's super easy.
and this are the two big things that people have been worried about. Because this is forward, and now we have tiller extension. I'm going to show you. I practiced yesterday just for y'all. If you try and sail with the tiller extension, and this is what I learned. I had to learn how to use it properly. You don't hold it like you might a frying pan. Hand on top. But just like you do for the tiller, hand on top. You don't sail with the tiller like this. I mean, not all the time, and not unless it's something wonky's happening, right? So since you don't hold the tiller underneath, you also don't hold the tiller extension underneath. Both on top. If you're sitting back here, basically stabbing yourself in the face. But where are you supposed to sit on an ensign anyway? Oh, look. Tiller extension forcing you to sit where you're supposed to, in front of the tiller. Very handy. You're holding it. This is going to be different. Like all the boats, we didn't actually change the tillers. So some of the tiller extensions will be like here, and some are going to be down here, depending on where the tiller is in the boat itself. But the extension is the same. You're holding it at the top.
Wherever you sit.
If you need to like have a better grip, you can put your thumb right here at the end. But it works just like
I would
this.
think so,
One thing
yes.
is, you can very casually lean this way and do baby turns. So those of you who do not have Inspector Gadget arms, this is way easier.
Those of us with T-Rex arms?
T-Rex arms. Yep. Look at this, Janet.
I'm going to sail Ensigns again.
So if you have a bad knee, for instance, or aren't good at the hovered attack position, you also have this. So the tiller extension is helping us in building some of that accessibility and making sure that people have a better chance of not having to have like really